based on some performance issues, I decided to move away from my MacBook and use my desktop. Don't worry, nothing changes. This is like very cross-platform. You can use it across multiple OSs and it's fine. So I believe that should be proof. But regardless, nothing changes. Our code doesn't change and our structure doesn't change either. Okay, so with that being said and out of the way, this is part 4 and let's get into it. Leaving off from where we were the last time, we've done a bit of work. We've definitely gotten some of our icons up here. Then we've also gotten our texts to show up, the temperatures, the status, so on and so forth. So in this one, we're really just going to be trying to make our pages slide and also make things reusable, and also try to work on the UI a little bit more, because I think it can still look a lot more like what we had going on. So I'll pull that up. Okay, so what we're going to do is, like I mentioned before, we're going to add up these dots. Yeah, then I think we can still do, once we add those dots, so we'll still give them some padding to give it more of this look, because we still have some serious dead space here. So I'm back in my environment. I think I might change this theme. So I've changed my theme. So let's get some things done. Right now, like I've said, we have to get these circles in. So where we're gonna go is just above this cursor. We have some padding, do some bits of stuff here. We'll also make some changes to our code down the line, but for now, let's focus on just getting these dots in. Since we're going to have about 3 or 4 of them representing each page position, we are going to do something called list.generate. In order for us to have that, let's have a row, and you know that our row takes in a list of children. Now, instead of us having this list right here, we will then use list.generate. So that will generate our list items for us, and we are gonna just put in 3 dots, right? So that would represent 3 of them. And we are going to, how we're going to generate our circles is going to be through the container widget. Container takes in some forms of parameters that can help us get a circle. So let me just show you how that's done. So first of all, we have a container. We want to set in a height, right? Let's just give that height of 10. Then we'll have a width. We'll give that 10 as well. What we're going to have is a decoration, right? And that decoration will be box decoration. Different widgets in Flutter do take in some different kinds of decorations. For instance, we know that container takes in box decoration. Then there are still some other widgets such as, so for instance, also the images also takes in decoration, and that takes in an image decorator. That's just something to take note of. Okay, so instead of this box decoration, we would have a color. And this color, we'll say is colors. These colors have different effects when they are highlighted on, and a different effect when it is not its page. So what I mean is, if you can look here, this has a white, while this is a little bit more gray. So the active ones are white while the inactive ones are grayer. Okay, let's just have colors white. Although we will make this a conditional eventually, but for now that would do. Okay, then we'll have border radius. So this border radius is what would make our containers to be circular. So we'll just use border radius dot circular, and let's give it 100. Then we refresh or reload the app. Okay, great. So we can see 3 dots right here, and they're all really stacked together, but they're just giving us a visual of what we are working towards. So I think this 10 might be a little bit too much, since they are a little bit more thinner. So I will just highlight them, Ctrl D. Let's just say 6 should be fine. Okay, okay, guys. So that looks decent. So the next thing we want to focus on is at least try and give them some spacing in between. This container now we can wrap it with a padding, or something. Anyways, let's just wrap it with padding and see how that looks. So we have edge set. We'll use only. So, or we can just use only, since we want, let's just say we want the spacing to occur on our right. So we'll just give it edge set only right. We do that, we save it, reload. Okay, good. So we have some spacing in between, though that might be a little bit too much, but that should do for now. Although I'm not too satisfied with the fact of adding padding everywhere. That might have been sufficient in the past, but let's try to make some changes. Let's click on this. We'll see this icon here. Hopefully we can remove that widget. So we remove that. So the padding for the horizontal has gone off for those. So let's also try to remove for this as well. This I will still leave because there's a padding somewhere here for the vertical. So that's that padding there. So I'll just still leave it as is. So this other one is the one we want to do, the location and time. We'll remove that padding. And so what we're going to do now is going to the container, the main container right here, and wrap it with padding. Dot symmetric, and we would have it as horizontal of 15. Save that and we reload. That's not what we want. So let's look for, that's not the position we want the padding then. Okay, I'll just remove the padding, remove this widget, and we'll add it to the child, which is this column right here, and we wrap with padding. So symmetric, horizontal of 15. So that should give us what we're looking for. Okay, great. So we have our spacing given accordingly. So far so good. What we want to then do is try to make these pages to swipe. So just a little primer of what we'll be doing is we're going to try to rearrange and organize our structure so that at least items in there can change. Let's look at our image once again. As we can see, we have them, but we should give them some spacing so that it can move some of these pages down a bit. I think we can still create some space from up here. Let these items be somewhere here. Like if these icons can be somewhere here, then we have a bunch of room to work with. I would just go into this section here just with these children. I don't know why this start version is not auto formatting my code, but hopefully yours is formatted. But I'll try to get that sorted out hopefully before the next video. I want to use something called a size box. So a size box is something like a container, but it doesn't take in some of the parameters, like for instance decoration that a container would. And sometimes if you use a container, Flutter will recommend that you do use the size box instead. Let's just use that widget called size box. So what we're going to have is, let's give it a height, and this height, let's say, because we want at least this to push down to somewhere around here. So if we give it like 20, so if we reload that, let's add in 10 or 15 more. So let's just start with 35. If that's not enough, move to 40. Okay, and 40 should do it. So far, I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you are, please give a thumbs up. Possibly consider subscribing, helps out. Okay, so 40 we would reload. Okay, if we do need some more space, we would give it. I think I will also want to give this some space between so that we see what we are doing, because everything's seeming a bit crammed up right now. what we want to then do is this page position. What I want to go and do is give it some padding as well. So it looks more like this. We'll go ahead and wrap with the padding, right? Then we'll remove that constant and we'll have a symmetric. That symmetric, we would say we want vertical because we want to have space between the up and like top and bottom, you know. Let's give it like 15 because so if it's too much we reduce it, but I think that should be fine. Okay, is that too much? I think that should be okay. Moving on, I think this is looking a little bit good, but I think we will make some changes eventually, but for now let's move on to other things. We are going to make this page swipe. Okay, so we're gonna do a few things to our application quite shortly. Our first thing would be to do some bit of code refactoring. So when I mean code refactoring, that means we are going to try to organize our code to be a little bit more cleaner and efficient. In this section that we are seeing container, what we're going to do is going to cut out this container entirely from this place. We'll hold on to that. Let's just return the placeholder. So what we're going to do right here is going to create a little function, and what that function is going to do is this. It's going to be able to hold some bits of information and make them reusable. So everything in our page, we want it to change things like pictures, the information on the application, so the status, whether it's snowing or like the climate changes, and some statistics. For instance, the wind speed, all that will change. Let's create this function we're talking about. We can create a function in a few ways, but let's call this reusable page. So with this, we'll say return, and we're going to paste that container we had there. All right, so this is all our entire application inside of one function. Instead of this placeholder, what we're going to have, because let's make some changes to our application so that we can start having those swipeable parts in our application, and also ensuring that things function and look accordingly. So let's take out this placeholder. We're going to use something called page view. Let's type in page view. So let's look in to see what a page view does, in case you're curious. We scroll down here. So a page view creates a scrollable list that works page by page, right, from an explicit a list of widgets. So for my example, our inspiration app, we have different pages. So what this typically would mean is as we swipe, we'll go on to this page, and as we swipe, we move on to the next page. We can achieve that through a page view. There are a few things a page view takes. One of them is called controller. So what a controller does, it's just something that would help us navigate through our app much more easily. Okay, so what we want to do is we have two different sections, this particular section up here and this one. So where we want to be is inside of this second class section, and we'll just go ahead and create a page controller. So we'll use the final keyword and then say page controller. So we are referencing the type. Whenever you're creating a variable in that, you can do it in two, like I said, in two ways. Let's just do it the first way so it makes sense. So we can just say controller is equals to page controller, right? So that's one way to do it. It's absolutely fine, but sometimes we want to be a little bit strict in the values we are getting. If you look properly in some codes, you will see the widget type before the variable name, then you see that same widget type again inside of the value, right? So what I mean is this. So let us say page controller controller. So once we have page controller like this, that means it's going to only take a page controller. Any other thing that's not a page controller, it will throw up an error. Now we will go on to here and say, for instance, we put in a padding type for this. We see that we are getting an error thrown inside of our container because this padding is not a container. in order to keep the default or the types similar, we can still run it like this, and you see we don't have any error. What we want to do now is this controller we've created here. Okay, like I mentioned, page view takes a few parameters. One of the scroll direction, reverse, controller, right? We'll be referencing this controller here, and let's say controller, and let's just reference the controller we've already created up here. Good. Page view also takes in children, just similar to like a row and a column. Okay, so what we are looking for is a list of pages that we want to display. What we would have here now instead of our list here would be this reusable page. So we'll take that and we paste in there. Paste it a couple of times, let's say 3 times, and we reload. Once we've reloaded, you might not see nothing's happening, but if we start to swipe through our application, you can see that things are happening, though it may be a bit slow on my end. But if you swipe it, you can see the different pages that we have going on. So that's great, and that's one bit of our application that we have to less worry about. What we are gonna do now is just start picking up pieces one by one, get everything looking the way we want it to. Okay, then I believe in the next video we will go ahead and start integrating the APIs so that this information we get them directly from like endpoints that have this data online. All right, enough said. Let's begin to start deciphering what needs to go where. So far we can see that we have so many sections that needs to be touched on, and we're going to tackle them. So the first one we'll look at is, let's break them down. We have the city, we have the time and date, right? Then we have the temperature, then this weather climate or the climate status, whether it's snowing, sunny or whatsoever. Then we have information about wind, rain and humidity. Let's start giving them their own proper places inside of our function here, this reusable page function. We are going to say, all right, let's start with the city. We're going to create some parameters inside a function. Currently right now our function will break, but that's okay. We will do something about that. There's city. Then one more thing we forgot is this background. So we would have also another variable called background. So we'll call this background. We would also say date time. No, this is, so will you do it that way, which is this. That other way is more or less like a Python way, because I mainly write in Python, but this is the way you do it. This is called camel case. That other format was called snake case. Then we have temperature, then climate status, doing it again, status, then climate icon, wind, speed, then rain percentage and humidity percentage. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and make these changes inside of our function. So we're going to just replace this function here. Hopefully all of our images are JPGs. Let's go ahead and look at it. Some of them are JPG, some of them are PNG. This background, we'll just change it to image path. That's more descriptive of what we are doing. Okay, so we have image path, and then let's go ahead and change this to, so if you want to add a variable inside of a string, so that's something we call string interpolation. But if you want to do that, you normally would do $sign and then just say image path. Then let's go ahead to where we have these our icons. Let's go to location. So we'll just change this we'll take out the entire string. So we remove this blue stuff going on here, just put in a const where you have that list there. So we'll say city, okay, okay. So just take out the const. If not, you will have an error there. So you can put the constants here. Let's not put a constant here. We will just put in date and time. That's date and time there. You can still put in const here, but for the sake of time, I won't just put in const everywhere just to make it look good for now. All right, so we have that. Then let's go ahead. I'm walking down the chain, and what I'm going to do is create a split to my left so that I can easily see my function parameters. I'm not my functions. Okay, so I can see everything I need to look without going up and down. We have what's next? Temperature. Okay, we have temperature, we have climate icon, then we have climate status. Then let's move on to this other bottom section. We have wind, so we'll have wind speed, and then we would have rain percentage and humidity percentage. Let's go ahead to start making the changes, because if we save this and reload it, our app is going to break. So we have a bunch of errors that are thrown here telling us that we need to fill in these required items. They say too few positional arguments, 9 required, 0 were given. So we're supposed to put in our parameters. We can close up this page and use this to scroll up. If we go to see this red area, that's where our errors are existing. Let's just take out or comment out these two. So use control backspace. Let's just focus on one of them. What do we want here? The image path, we have it as images slash. Okay, this has to be inside of a string. We have images, so let's go to just our simple image that we have, right? So we're talking about, let's just say, let's change up the field a bit. So let's say rainy dot jpg. That's one parameter we filled. So the city, or let's say New York, and date and time, we'll have it as what we have on our app, 6:30 p.m. We'll change it to whatever days you're watching this video. All right, so we'll use an escape, since if we do this, it would, if we have another apostrophe, it's going to not work the way we want it to. So we use what we call an escape, which is using a backspace and this apostrophe, right? So we have our May 23, or you can still use a double quote like this. That still works. That means we'll no longer need this. You can still do that. That's fine, just so you're aware. So the temperature, we would say like 5 degrees. Okay, I need this degree symbol again. Give me a minute. Just Google degree symbol, and we can just copy one of them, anyone if you like. So copy, paste. Let's move on to the icon. So for the icon, we have a rainy icon, so we'll say images slash rain icon dot png. Then okay, climate status, climate icon, wind speed, would give that as 10, because I believe the default value we kept here, I believe, is still kilometers per hour, so we just put in that number there as 10. Then humidity percentage, which is another 10. Do we have anything missing? Yes, we do. So the icon, this, then one more. Let's just say 10% as well. Okay, so what is it that we're missing? Because still should try and train off an error. So how many parameters do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them. 9. So which one are we missing then? So we have the image parts, the city, the date, the temperature, then the climate status, which should tell us rainy or sunny. Rainy. We save that. We should be good to go. And we reload. Okay. App is telling us we can load an asset. So images, what are we missing? Okay, telling us we have 2 images. So I'm just supposed to put in rainy.png, not with images / path. That images again. So if I just run up that, we should be good to go. So great. Wow. This app is really, really looking good, don't you think? All right. So that's great. So guys, I hope you guys are actually enjoying these videos, because I am actually glad making this stuff. And just in the comments, let me know what you're learning and where you are at in your Flutter journey. Are you just getting started, or you've been making apps for some time, or you stopped? Well, let me know where you're at. Let's just chat in the comments. So that aside, let's try to wrap up this video. So some things I was thinking about was, since we just have this, let's just create some more. Create 2 more. We have sunny, and we have sun icon. Can change this location to Paris. I don't know. Temperature 27. Humidity should be like 30 or something. Whatever. Anything, random figures, man. Let's also have cloudy icon. Let's save that and see how that looks. All right, so we have rainy. Wow, looks good. Wow. I really like the looks of this. Okay guys, we have made some solid progress. So with that said, I think we can wrap up this video. In the next one, we are going to just work on the APIs, then get this API, refactor some code here, make things look simpler, introduce some other concepts, some good stuff. But with that being said, I really appreciate you for watching. I hope you're learning something good, and take the time, like and subscribe, and I'll see you for real in the next one. Peace.